Hello, Brother Mike. Hello, Sister Sarah, and everyone who's a part of MJV Ministries. This is Stefan from Feed the Hungry, and I want to thank you for making 2024 such a powerful year. And 2025 is off to a great start. Today, you are feeding over 626,000 children across 24 nations around the world. You are reaching out in times of emergency and need to the people of Ukraine and the people of Myanmar. You're reaching out across the United States to shelters and soup kitchens and ministries that are taking in the homeless. You are feeding the hungry, you are encouraging the church, and you are reaching the lost. You're bringing the hope of Jesus Christ to those that are praying, Lord, give us this day our daily bread. Thank you for changing the lives of so many children around the world, giving them a hope and a future, letting them literally taste and see that the Lord is good. So thank you for allowing children to grow up, to play, to laugh, to learn, to dream, to imagine, to know Jesus, and to know that He has a future and a plan for their life. Your support, your prayers mean the world to them, and it means the world to us as well. God bless you.
Hello and welcome to night number 9 of Prayer and Fasting, MJV Ministries live. Tonight is going to be a great broadcast because I have a great friend on, and I'm excited for everyone on here. So take a minute, if you haven't already, share the broadcast and tag a friend, tag somebody in it. You don't want to miss this. If you're watching on YouTube or X, make sure you comment. Let us know where you're watching from tonight. Facebook, make sure you post up your city and state, or if you're watching from outside of America. We're going to get into this. So I want to tell you right now, this is going to be an awesome broadcast, especially if you are a woman in ministry, a mom, stay-at-home mom, someone who aspires to be an amazing wife. I'm telling you, this is going to be awesome. My friend Ariella Jeter, she's married to Austin Jeter, who was on last week with my husband. So if you haven't seen that broadcast yet, make sure you go back, watch it on our YouTube channel. That was awesome, talking about being an influencer. She herself is an influencer, and also her and Austin have 2 awesome kids that we have adopted as our niece and nephew. And so I want you to make my friend Ariella feel very welcomed as she joins us tonight. Welcome, Ariella.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Have you ever done something like this before live?
Oh, no.
Okay, so this is great. So if you don't already, I want you to make sure that before tonight ends, you go and follow her on social media, on Instagram, TikTok. They're on YouTube as well as the Jeter fam. You can subscribe on their YouTube and all of the platforms. And I am excited because, I mean, this is also just going to be us catching up.
I know. It's been a minute. I'm so happy.
Yeah, they're based out of Fort Worth, Texas. And so you were born and raised?
Yeah, actually Arlington, but that's right around the corner, so.
Awesome. And then you and Austin have been together and married for how long?
We are about to celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary. We started dating 2 years before we got married, so basically about 12 years we've been together.
Wow. That's incredible. And you have 2 kids. Talk about them, how old they are.
Yeah. So our daughter Charlie is 5. She's a little redhead. And then my son AJ, that's Austin Jr., he's 2 years old.
Yes. I actually think I still have a family photo of the whole fam right there. Look at little AJ.
Oh, he's so small. Oh.
Yeah, they're awesome. And basically, I know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Austin got really famous when Vine was around.
That is when his social media career took off. Vine came first.
And then how far, was it before you had kids that he started getting into social media full time, or was it around the time, because you kind of turned into the like lifestyle family vlogging that everyone loves to watch, like the picture family. And so when did all of that kind of happen?
Well, okay, so he was doing content full time when Vine was around. That was well before we had kids. And then he took a break there for a while. Vine wasn't a thing anymore. But then he kind of transitioned into TikTok. And once he got that going and he got Facebook going, it became a full-time thing again. And then I think he had a decent following from my memory. But then whenever we had kids, we started incorporating them because he was already making videos all the time. And then I feel like things really took off from there.
That's awesome. I know a lot of people here probably follow you guys. I know my mother-in-law is on, Carmela. She
Hi, Carmela.
She said last week she petitioned. She said the kids must come on next week.
I'm so sorry. They are out having fun at the moment.
Yeah. And so when you because Charlie is 4?
She's 5.
5. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Charlie. So when you transitioned, so basically it was you and Austin for, that would be married 5 years, and then you had Charlie. So what was kind of like the biggest change from going from just married to now Charlie, while he was, I mean, you were working probably at the time, or
Yeah.
so how did that how was that change where you went from just the 2 of you to now the 3, and then you're still into the influencing for content creation?
There's probably a lot I could say about that, but I will say I didn't realize how much free time we had before having children. And then you have a child and you're like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was busy. I really wasn't. This is a full-time, around the clock, like through the night job. So I think that was the biggest shock, was just you have to realize how to manage your time better and how to be really intentional. But I think if anything, that just helped us as far as social media goes, because it gives you sort of a level of discipline that you didn't have before, and you're being more intentional with your time. So I think it, in a way, it sort of like matured us and helped us to just be more on top of everything.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, because I can only imagine how, I mean, people say like when you go from just 2 to 1, it changes everything. And then you go from 1 kid to 2 kids, and then that's a whole different dynamic. So, I mean, you guys, from everything that you do, from the amount of, not only the amount of content you guys put out, but then the kind and type that you guys do, you're like on it. I feel like I'll take a picture and then I'll post it 3 months later. Like, it's one of those things where I applaud you guys for because it's a full-time commitment to stay on top of all of that and everything. And so one of the things I wanted to ask was, what was something that surprised you the most when you first became a mom? Maybe something that no one gave you warning about, or something that seemed better than you thought it would be. What's something that just hit you, either with Charlie or when you had AJ and now you have Charlie and AJ?
Okay. I can think of maybe a more serious thing and then a happier thing. So, first I was going to say, as a Christian mom, I think I thought I was going to be more prepared going into it, to just be on top of, just having a consistent level of faith and not getting overly concerned about it. They get a cold and like you can feel fear start to creep in, like, what is this? So I would say the first thing was just realizing that, fear is something that you have to keep checked as a mom. It's so, so important. And you can keep it checked. It just takes a lot of intentionality and staying in your word and having faith preached to you. So that was one thing. That's the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing that comes to mind, though, and it sounds really like cheesy and silly, but like I wasn't really prepared for how much they were going to love me and how good that was going to feel and how much I was going to love them back. Like, moms love their kids love their moms. But I guess when you experience it, it's just such a like purely joyful, special feeling, having love from these cute little children, and they just want to be with you all the time. It's just, there's nothing like it. It's so great. My dog just pulled my wire.
No, that's awesome. And I love what you said about the fear creeping in too, because that's something a lot of people I feel like don't think about, especially like whether you're single, married, have kids, don't, that can come in almost any form where you have to keep it in check. And so I love what you said about that, because that's very necessary in life in general.
Mm-hmm.
So what was something, okay, this is like one of my top questions I wanted to ask, because this is, I know you have an awesome story on this, but what was the biggest step of faith that you've ever taken, and what have you learned from it?
Okay. So the biggest step I've ever taken was actually, as far as faith goes, was actually leaving my full-time salaried job to pursue content creation and, spending more time with my children, and just getting to be in the role that I really wanted to be, as far as, helping my kids learn, like we're doing homeschooling, all of that. That was the biggest step of faith. And then what was the follow-up question to that? The second question? And
what have you learned from it?
Okay. Okay, I've learned from it that you can take God at his word. And what I mean by that is, when I was considering making that change, it's a huge deal to give up, this salary that is consistent, that you rely on. And it was fully a matter of, like, if God gives me the go ahead to do this, he's going to have to provide, because I'm not gonna, give it a year and save up a certain amount of money to make sure we have a good cushion. This is all going to be fine. It's a matter of, I'm just going to count on God to provide for us. And so, he did. And right away we saw so many new opportunities, so much increase, new followers, our income going up. It's like I never left a job, So it was an encouraging experience, knowing that I really can just put all my trust in him, and it's going to work out, and he's going to come through in surprising ways, and it's just going to be great.
Amen. Amen. I remember we were talking about this kind of in the beginning of the year, when you were feeling that to fully step out, and it was, and a lot of people face that too, when the Lord tells them to do something and they can't see like the end result of it, where it's well, what if, kind of wants to creep in of, what if I do this and then nothing happens?
Right.
And I mean, this where we've shared before, but like when we were first stepping out into full-time ministry, where it was like we were leaving our paid salary jobs, when we were on associate pastoring at a church, and the Lord told us to like launch into our full-time evangelistic ministry, we were doing it and we didn't have any meetings booked like ever in the calendar. And it was something like that same, where you want to think to yourself, well, what if we never get a meeting, or what if something never happens? But it was like we knew that this is what the Lord was going to do, right? And he was going to provide. And you and your husband get a lot of brand deals and things like that through, I mean, not only from like the content creation you create, but then you also get, connected with different brands. So what is like the most, I guess, exciting brand you've been able to work with, like, so far ever?
That's a tough one. We actually had a recent one. We just had an ad go live. It was with Penguin Random House. And the reason that was so cool is, not only was it just a great brand deal that we're excited to do, and just so like on brand for our family and the type of content we create, but when I saw that that was the brand we were going to be working with, I was kind of in shock, because I was an English major. I have 2 degrees in English, and anytime you make a big life change and you're not using something you worked hard for, like an English degree, like I'm not using an English degree, I'm not teaching English, you kind of think, oh, was that just like, was that what I should have been doing? Was that a waste of time? Whatever. But that was a brand that I consistently bought books from and studied in my time as a college student. And it just felt like sort of like a full circle moment. I was working with them in one way, and now we're working with them in a completely different way. But it's just really neat.
Wow.
If it's a brand you believe in, I think that's always really special.
Yeah. Have you had to turn any brands down?
Yes. Not too long ago, there was an offer for a political campaign. And as much as we like a paycheck, we're not willing to promote things we don't believe in. So that was one. And then another is just sometimes there are opportunities for like alcohol brand deals. We don't drink. So, if it's something that doesn't align with our core values or who we are, it's just not going to get accepted.
Amen. Amen. Speaking of your core values and, your family values, because you do a lot of family-based content creation. So, and you're also Christian influencer yourself. What's that like kind of in the public eye from an influencer perspective? Like I couldn't imagine you get hate for it, but in today's world I could, because a lot of times people will probably find anything to complain about. So what's like, has there been any, we'll call it challenges. Has there been any challenges with, being outspoken about your faith? Because you post on Sunday what your kids wore to church. And, I know Austin posts about like Charlie praying, and it's so, awesome and encouraging to see. So was there ever like, has it been like that from the start, or was there a point in time where you kind of just went in that direction because it's just a big part of your life? And what has been kind of like the feedback from it?
Okay, so I would say that our faith has always sort of been in the background, but I do feel like in recent years we've been more outspoken about our faith. We're more transparent about it. I don't really know why that is. Maybe it's just because we're honestly under teaching that's very bold, very consistently, and that's an encouragement for you to be bold, But also we have kids, and since we make content around what we're actually doing on a day-to-day basis, since we're actually training up our kids in Christianity, that does end up on our page a lot. I would say, we do get negative comments about it sometimes. There are also people who are very glad that we're raising our kids in a Christian home, and they're very supportive of it. You're never going to make everyone happy. So yeah, if you're going to be outspoken about faith, prepare for some hate comments and some people to unfollow you. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're really comfortable with who you are and what you believe in, it's not going to get under your skin.
Amen. Amen. I totally can agree that not everyone will agree, and they can just unfollow and move on. That
we'll be all right.
And so for you, I don't know if my husband asked your husband this, but this was something that I wanted to ask, because and you can go into like as much detail or as little, but at what point in your life, like, was there a point in your life where you like were like, did you grow up saved? Did you grow up in church, or was there a point in your life where you like came to know the Lord? Like, share a little bit about your testimony and how it is that you came to the Lord, and it could be even, as as recent as things that have changed, where you, like you said, you feel that boldness to share more about the gospel online, or kind of just like share on that a little bit.
Yeah. So I did grow up in a Christian home, but I think in my teen years, it became more of a casual thing, like, oh, I'm a Christian, but, I don't know that I know that I wasn't doing all of the right things and wasn't taking my faith seriously. It was actually after I got married to Austin. It was January 1st of 2017. I rededicated my life to the Lord at a revival meeting, and everything changed. I became, more on fire for God. I gave up some things in my life that certainly didn't need to be there. And it was just this really great turning point. And I think from that moment, that's when I actually started sharing more on social media, not from a content creator perspective, but just like on my personal Facebook, like, inviting people to church and feeling this boldness and feeling this need to like share the joy that I was feeling and try to get other people on board. So yeah.
That's awesome. Because I don't know if I've ever asked you that like personally, but I remember when Mike was on with Austin where I said, I want to ask like at what point, where was that kind of point in your life? Or if you just grew up like, I have sort of similar, I grew up in church, but just not serious until later in my teenage years. So, I definitely understand, as that point where it's like when you get serious with the Lord and you're like, okay, this is it. And, you just want to share that with other people and things like that. So, another question I wanted to ask was, when it comes to, and I know you kind of shared a little bit about this where, you have no problem turning down brand deals or turning down things that don't align with, your family, your values, things like that. So how do you balance, and and I'll add one funny point to this is how do you balance being, online with your audience that you're building on social media, super active, but then also protecting your peace and privacy? Because I'll add, anytime we go out in public and my husband is there, he loves to yell, "I'm with Austin Jeter, everybody." And there have been plenty of times where we've gone out and he's actually been recognized. And so how is that something that you balance in, does it happen more often than not, or kind of, you still have that line? And then how do you, determine like, okay, this is going to go against my peace or protecting my peace, and I'm not going to be involved in that.
Okay. So I'm having some thoughts. One way that we protect our peace, and I don't know if this is like the right response, but is we don't post what we're doing while we're doing it. And so that helps prevent people from going to a place because you're there. Typically, that's a rule that we have. But like a more consistent way we protect our peace is not dwelling on the hate comments, the people who are trying to discourage you. It's easy to get riled up, So,
Oh, that's so good.
If we can make light of it and joke about it to each other and then just move on. When we're out in public, we do, or primarily Austin, he'll get recognized sometimes. It's not an all the time thing. And, that's not something that we mind. It's actually encouraging to know that someone gets joy out of your content and they want to let you know and like be an encouragement to you. I think that's great.
That's awesome. Yeah. I like that rule too, where, you don't post what you're doing while you're doing it, because, but then I see like to the opposite extreme of where people go as far as they don't allow their kids to be on social media or in like family photos or anything like that. Because so, there's definitely extremes out there, but you guys have definitely found a great balance for that, in your content creation and everything that you do, even as a family, because, there's never been, I mean, you're so thoughtful of, being out in public and being recognized and things like that. And you still do an awesome job of sharing everything that you're doing. And so, while we're on that topic of family and the content creation, what's been like your favorite, because I know you've done a lot of short form content, but what's been like one of your favorite like videos or things that you did as a family for, it could be either for a brand or just like personal, like a vlog or a unpacking, like what's been something that's like your favorite so far?
The first thing that comes to mind is I've made a few videos of Charlie getting her hair done. The latest one, we were getting her hair done together. And the reason I love that is she is so happy. Like, she genuinely loves to go to the hair salon and get her hair done. Her Aunt Brandy is the hairstylist. And, if you look at the first couple of videos I made of her getting her hair done, she's just grinning ear to ear the entire time. I love being able to make content that is a result of just taking my kids to have a good time. And other people love watching it because it makes them happy. They're like, oh my gosh, I smiled the whole video because she's smiling. And so getting to kind of work while taking my kid to do something great, that's just so rewarding, and it's such a privilege, and I'm so thankful for it.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the videos because Charlie's like a girl's girl.
Yes.
And so I feel like anything that's shopping, hair, nails, and makeup, it's like, that's Charlie. Like,
absolutely.
I remember so many times, like, I didn't even like cross the front door, like, mat before she's like, you want to play Barbies? And it's just like such a girly girl. And I love that about her. And then AJ's like such a such a ball of energy, where it's not, the complete opposite in a good way, where you'd want it to be, because he's just like,
that's nice.
Bouncing, running, jumping off of everything.
Right. And his natural interests are like Spider-Man and, superheroes and monster trucks. It's just funny how they naturally are the way that they are.
Yeah. So what's something like that you would say in one of our closing thoughts here? Because I know we have a lot of people commenting where they're saying like, I'm a mom. A lot of people, we have a couple of single moms on here raising their kids in the Lord, a couple of families that are watching. And then I know a lot of people on the replay. What's something that you would give as an encouragement? Because I know from your perspective as, not only a mom, but then a wife, how do you talked a little bit about like keeping fear out in the beginning. And so what's something you would say to like encourage other moms or wives where, maybe the enemy's trying to come in and give them that, what they call mom guilt, or, feeling like they're not doing enough or things like that? Like, has there ever been a time in your life where you had to face something like that head on? And then what would you say to like encourage others who are watching?
Okay, I would say that since we are such a social media focused generation, there's so much comparison happening, and you get parenting advice whether you're looking for it or not. You're just scrolling and people are showing you their routines, and they do no screen time with their kids, and their kids only eat whole foods. And there's so much, like, we're bombarded with so many different parenting strategies and so much advice and so many ideas. So I would say if you are being spirit led and listening to the Lord and leading your children in the way that you know they should go and doing your best, I think that you should take comfort in that. You are not the mom down the street. You're different, and that's okay. But if you're training your kids up in the Lord and you're doing things that you feel good about, and you're praying and asking God for direction and following through with that, then you can just take a breath. You don't need to be like every other mom on social media. And that's all right. Your kids are going to turn out great.
I love that. That's so good. Because you know what? I woke up this morning thinking, man, I'm not a 5 a.m. Pilates kind of gal. As much as I watch it on social media. But it's so true. Whether you realize it or not, you're being influenced by anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a really great answer. Anything else did I think I got all of my main questions I wanted, but anything else?
Well, I was just thinking about, maybe just a way to encourage moms. I would say the little things that you do to train your kids in the way they should go, reading the word, praying for them. Sometimes it might not seem like they're super focused, they're kids, they have energy, whatever. But I just want to say that if you're consistent, you'll see the fruit of that and your kids will surprise you. So just stick with it. Charlie, for example, if she prays, we have her pray and she prays things that she's heard me pray. It's such an encouragement. Like, oh, I'm doing something. It's working, So they'll get the word in and just stick with it.
Amen. That's awesome. I love that. And so going from, I think we've pretty much covered everything from the, your a little bit of your backstory, stepping out in faith, and then having kids and everything like that in the mix of it, because I know that's a huge change. And so I want to encourage everybody who's watching and on the broadcast tonight to make sure you stay connected with Ariella. Make sure you go on, follow the Jeter fam, and follow her on social media. You could subscribe to them on YouTube, at the Jeter fam on YouTube, and then follow her on Instagram and TikTok. Is your TikTok the same handle as your Instagram?
That's a great question, and one I should know the answer to, but I don't know.
Well, at least go follow her on Instagram. Make sure you connect with her and her husband, Austin Jeter, and then the Jeter fam, and then stay connected through all of the other ways for that. And then I wanted to ask, personally, how did because you guys just recently moved, and I remember you were putting in bids for a TikTok couch, and I wanted to ask, is the couch you have now from TikTok? Was that a TikTok trend?
It is not, but it is from Living Spaces. And I must say, I'm so happy that I was exposed to Living Spaces. It's a great family-friendly place to shop for furniture, and it's huge. And I thoroughly enjoyed shopping there. So I'm not mad about it. We love our couch so much.
Okay. Not sponsored yet, but you will be influenced for everything. I will follow you, and I'm like, I need these sunglasses as well.
Oh gosh.
Keeping up with the trends. So I want to say thanks for coming on and for doing this.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure if it was way out of your comfort zone, but it was great. Fun. Everyone's commenting. My mother-in-law thinks Charlie is adorable, if you didn't catch that comment. And Austin says so much that Charlie will not sleep anywhere else.
Oh yeah, she loves that couch. We have to be like, no, it's just sleep in the bed. It's fine to sleep in the bed. She loves the couch.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely taking notes, because I think I love your couch. And
thanks.
But anyway, not to get so off subject, but everybody, thanks for hopping on. I see a lot of people are on. Victoria B, Steve. Steve says so much junk out there that it's a breath of fresh air to see the reality of a Christian family dynamics. And I agree as well. There's so much out there where it is a breath of fresh air to see, especially, being a young, you and Austin are young. That's why it's crazy to me when you say you've been, about to celebrate 10 years. It's you get married at 13, because you guys are so young to have that family commitment where it's your priorities are in line, you're in church, you're raising Charlie and AJ to be the most adorable kids out there. So I agree, Steve. Everyone I'm just making sure we didn't miss any questions or anything like that. Hello, Jackie, watching in Lancaster. A couple of people on from Lancaster. And then, of course, Austin says that he has about $200 worth of toys in a Target basket right now.
No, I swear that happens anytime he takes the kids to the store. He cannot say no to anything.
Yeah, I've been a witness to that. So, well, this is before this turns into a conversation between your husband and my husband in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and take this time right now to just tell you right now to follow Ariella, her family. Thank you for hopping on, for doing this with me.
Thanks
And
for having me.
as everyone who's following us know, we're in a 21-day fast. And so a lot of people are fasting differently. Some people are doing liquids, some people are doing water, some people are doing 6 to 6, some are skipping a meal. But I want to encourage you, as we're in day 9, almost halfway through this corporate fast, that I want to encourage you to stick with it and don't give up, because we are almost halfway there. And I'm telling you, the results that you're going to see from it are going to far outweigh any hunger pain or
Amen.
anything. You know, the spiritual benefits from it are going to be what carry you through the next 6 months. And so stick with it. That's for someone probably specific. You were thinking of quitting, but do not quit. And then also take time to really, get into your word. Make sure you're prayed up. Make sure you're on guard for your family. And I love what Ariella said, as not letting any fear in any sort of way, whether it's for you or your spouse or your children, not letting any fear in. So on that, I want to say thank you guys for coming on. Thank you, Ariella. I love you guys. And I'm honestly sure this won't be the last time we're on here doing this. So I get a lot of great feedback when it's, in the few times I've done it, because I've only done this with you and Chi-Chi, Pastor Chi-Chi from Revival Today Church. And so I've had her on, and that was I got a lot of feedback later on. People were saying how encouraging it was and things like that. So it's something I definitely want to have more of, topics and subjects that will help women, because I think it's important to have. So this definitely won't be the last one. So thank you.
I'm excited.
All right. Well, we love you guys. Thanks for hopping on. If you are just hopping on, make sure you go back, watch the replay, subscribe on YouTube, watch the broadcast that my husband did with Ariella's husband, Austin, and have yourself a great night. And we will see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern.